Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with episode 275. It's crazy. I'm like, am I really? 275? This episode, we're going to talk about the full moon in Aries coming in next week. And this is the first full moon since the closure of the eclipse series going between Libra and Aries. And we had that final solar eclipse last spring, the solar eclipse in Aries. We got the full moon in Aries, like I said, coming in October 6th at 11:47 p.m. on the Monday right before that full moon is exact. Mercury will enter Scorpio at 12:40 p.m. Tuesday the 7th, Mercury in Scorpio will square Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So let's talk about this. Happy fall, everyone. We are now a solid week into fall, and it's starting to feel like fall here in, Chester County, Pennsylvania. The Four Seasons, which is why I love living around here, it has now shifted this week in this very cozy, fall-like, sweater-like weather. And fall is, to me, one of my favorite seasons, I would say, probably up there with that. And we're in Libra season, which marks the fall equinox, entering the fall, and as well as the descent into darkness. When we enter Libra season, we are now getting into that second half of darkness that will lead us to the darkest night of the year in Capricorn season. So each day is getting a little bit darker and everything begins to die or go dormant, which is why a lot of feelings come up for a lot of people every year during this time. So on this episode, with this full moon in Aries, with the descent into darkness, I want to hopefully bring a nice lighter spin or a more welcoming energy into the darkness. So I want to remind everyone, thank you for supporting this podcast. The best way you can support this podcast is to rate, review it, subscribe to it if you aren't, send it to a friend. Fully self-supporting. There's no donations, nothing. Just donate, A, your time. All of you guys donate that to me by listening, and I really appreciate that. And B, just sending it to someone. Say, hey, I really think, any of your Aries friends, Libra friends, or other cardinal placements, Capricorn and Cancer, say, hey, I think you're going to be feeling this full moon, and maybe you should take a little listen to this episode. So I love to focus each season on what needs to fall away or what needs to grow again, right? So now we're in the stage, the fall of the falling away, that limbo stage, the in-between, that we know that some change is coming, some death, and I don't mean that actual figuratively. I mean the other ways of death. We know that's coming, and we know that big change is coming, which is why so many different emotions come up during the fall. Once we're in the wintertime, everything is dead, right? Everything is already had happened, and now we're just living in that darker energy. So we're in this weird in-between energy. We know the change is here. We're ready to let go. Maybe not necessarily ready to let go, but, it feels like it's time. And what needs to be removed or maybe, lays dormant in us as this fall season begins? What keeps coming up for you from your subconscious? What in your mind's eye comes to you that needs to be shed? What light needs to be shown or shined, on that darkness? That's what I want you to focus on when you're thinking about this weather. What comes to mind? Do you have change? Oftentimes, I think during this time, we just naturally, like I said, come out of our subconscious. This is what I need to shed. This is what I need to change. This is how I need to loosen things in order to finish out my year the way I had hoped that it begun. So the initial start of the shedding process is going to begin with the full moon in the sign of Aries. Now, when we have a full moon or a new moon in a particular sign, we need to look to where the planet of that sign is. So Aries, the ruler of Mars, right now, Mars, the ruler of Aries, sorry, we could say that. Mars right now is in one of its home domiciles, which means one of its home signs of Scorpio, the water sign. So that's one positive check mark towards the full moon in Aries. And I like to add that Mars in Scorpio has a nice trine to Jupiter in Cancer for my water signs. So that is another nice tone to this full moon, which is why this is all going to be about shedding light toward darkness. It's really going to have some nice joy overtones to it. Mars represents cutting and severing, and often abruptly, and especially, when it deals with the fire sign Aries that it rules over. So again, we sever, we cut. Mars is the god of war, has no problem ending things. Aries marks the start of the spring. And again, another thing with Aries, the cardinal, it can go strong, but it also can just cut off and end just as strong. It like can go so hard and then fizzle out. And then it's like, all right, done, gone. See ya, on to the next. Aries marks, like I said, the descent into spring and the descent into lightness. We now begin the lightest time of the year. So with the full moon in Aries, we have the moon in Aries illuminating, shining its light on the sun in Libra. So illuminating those darkest parts, shedding the light on those dark parts of ourselves, the dark parts of our worlds, or around our own little personal worlds. Bringing the light that needs to die. You know, what is it? What is the saying? You bring something, you bring things to light to die, or you bring things from the dark to die in the light. What is that? I know it's very simple, but you guys have heard it. You know what I mean? We got to bring that shit up so we can just light it on fire and the sun is shining. When Mercury also, now with Mercury, remember, it's also entering Scorpio the day that this full moon is happening. So the darkness is coming to light with Mercury there through messages, meditation, channeled messages, mental institutions. Well, you never know with a little Scorpio there. Mental intuition is what I meant. And just sort of like a war on words, but it's a war on words that is constructive. It's not always constructive with Aries, but it's a war on words that is very constructive. Now, like I said, this time we're not necessarily revealing truth like we will in other things when like Neptune and Pisces or various things like that. We're not necessarily revealing the truth because this is shedding light on the truth that was there all along. It's the truth that you already know. It's the truth you were already aware of. So there is no shock to this. There might be like ripping the Band-Aid off when you shed it, but there is no shock. There is no like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. Oh my God, I can't believe that is what happened. I can't believe that's the truth of this person. Again, this is shedding light on the truth that is already there, the truth you're already aware of. And oftentimes when that happens, again, it's something that's been in our heart. It's been weighing on us. It's been in our mind the whole time. So now we're shedding the light, and you know where that leads you, guys. So remember, it leads you to all kinds of freedoms. And when you shed the light, when you bring, wait, what is it? I think it's something can only die in the dark. See, so I'm keep trying to go back. I'm like, Colleen, you know that easy quote, because this, what I just said reminded me of that. We are bringing this to light, and these freedoms that come from that, it's almost unbelievable how instant it happens. But right now, you can only imagine or dream of that freedom because it seems so out of reach, because it's scary, it's uncomfortable. And most of the time, before you make a change, before you let something go, it's all that built up energy before that once you make that choice, once you shed that, once you bring light to whatever darkness it is, once you do that, it's like almost instantly, freedom, but like the energy moves and it's really not that big of a deal, or it shifts in a way that we like, or we actually realize we can emotionally handle it because we can emotionally, mentally handle everything. So it was just that build up. And with the full moon in Aries, especially with Mars, it's like that pressure cooker. So all of this stuff, you are going to almost instantaneously feel so free just from shedding light. And you're gonna be like, man, I really created this entire thing in my head. And that was the worst part then. The consequences or the reactions that happened after the light is brought, after things are brought to the light. So another thing that I want to say, like I said earlier, Aries represents the god of war, right? Aries goes in as the god of war, fearless, that has this ungodly cockiness. Love you guys, Aries, but you know what I mean. Cutting and severing impulsively and often without regrets, right? Aries are usually your bravest, that is ruled by Mars. You're going to find such bravery in what they do. So that bravery energy is going to be with you within the shedding, within the revealing of light, within the revealing of the truth you already knew. You are going to be able to just act quickly, but with that ungodly cockiness and confidence, let's say, because it's also a very, very confident sign. And the opposition to Libra, right? Like again, Aries, they make that decision. They can be very impulsive with it, and they're going to run with it. Whatever choice they make, they have the ultimate confidence with it, and they figure it out, and it works out for them, and it really does. They just like, okay, this is what it is, because they have that confidence when they persevere through things. Now with Libra, as you know, they're not that fearless. Usually, they're not that sort of, this is what I'm doing. They're ruled by Venus. So they want harmony. They want pleasure. They want joy. They are peacemakers. So often there is a very hard thing for them to make a decision, for them to make a choice. They can regret choices. They're afraid. They often, again, put other people's perspectives or like not wanting to hurt them before themselves. So there's one of the oppositions between Libra and Aries. So there is now, like, you have to, especially my Libras, making that decision, shedding light to that darkness. Like, you can't just keeping the peace by saying nothing, right? That's really not doing anything. You are suffering in silence. That's the thing. Libras suffer in silence. Aries don't. They're like, I'm not suffering. You're not going to make me suffer. I'm going to make you suffer. And so there is the difference. So we really, for my Libra placements, we're absolutely shedding that and making you believe in yourself. Don't second doubt yourself and take on some of that Aries energy, right? Our oppositions are very similar to us within opposites, if that makes sense to you. So it's like, okay, now it's Libra's turn to take a little bit of that Aries initiative and confidence into them. And again, stop ignoring something. You have to handle that truth, and you have to do and put yourself first. So that scared little warrior inside of you is gonna come alive when you shed the darkness. And that's another thing. When you're welcoming your truths, when you're welcoming, that energy that's around you, it literally makes you stronger. I'm telling you. So, with this full moon in Aries, we're all getting a little bit stronger. Now, I want to talk about, we're getting to the end of this episode almost, but darkness. Let's talk about the darkness. Because like I said, Libra begins the descent into the darkest time of the year, September through December. So that begins. So darkness is often represented as bad, right? And yes, there is a part of it that is obviously bad or dark or negative. There is that, but darkness is also so much more, and so much more that is not bad. So much more that really is our main power source. Let's say that, right? You look to the power source of that. Dark is also uncomfortable energy, which is uncomfortable because of fears that we create in our head. Let's remind that. It's hidden parts of ourselves, of our soul, of our mind. It's those things we hold dearest and closest to us. It's our pain, trauma, those things that sadden us, those things that give us that stab in the heart feeling when we feel like it's coming or thinking it's going to happen. And I could go on and on and on. It's also those most vulnerable sides of ourselves. It's those sides that are most raw and pure, untouched, right? Darkness is something that is untouched. And there is something very, very beautiful in that, and something so deep and cathartic, right? That's throwing a little Plutonian vibes there. It's cathartic. And there is so much power and so much beauty in that. But I think growing up in this world, and even as when I was a kid, I'm 37, that wasn't honored. That was often taught to be scared of, to avoid, to hide, to deny. And that's, again, what has added to the buildup that so many of us have. And it should not really be that way. So hopefully this episode helps you really, helps you shed a little light on that. So this is such an important side to who we are and what we need to shed light, to understand it, to learn it, to integrate the light side of us with the dark side. And if not integrate, then to understand deeply, to bring an equal level of energy to both sides. I know, off topic a little bit, but I guess on topic. I know a lot of people like the law of oneness, and I've read it. I haven't studied it, but I've talked to people who have studied it. I've also read, the good Gemini in me has read a little bit about a lot of things, and especially of that. I just feel like, I think maybe there is a hierarchy of oneness to everything. However, within that, I feel like there's these subcontracts constructs. Oh my God, I can't talk today. There's these, subparticles, maybe we'll say, of lightness and darkness. Everything has the polarity. Everything of what my eye can see or understand or my mind can is the polarity, hot and cold, light and dark, right? I could keep anger or I guess they say I was going to say anger and mad, but then they say everything emotion is really sadness underneath that. But you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. So I do believe, again, that there may be this energy that is one within all of us, but there's also these two polarities that live in everyone. And we can't escape that. We understand that. And again, we use these planets to reveal it, to at least bring a little bit of consciousness to us, which is, again, why I love giving this out, why I do this episode. I love astrology. I love sharing it with the world. And I love using it to help get awareness, help everyone figure out and understand their mind. That's the total mercurial placements I have in myself. I just want everybody to understand their mind. Well, with that, happy full moon in Aries. Like I said, this is accumulation. This is the first full moon since ending the eclipse series between Libra and Aries. So with that, there's a lot of conclusions. And maybe for my Libra and Aries placements, again, it's a new layer to the truth, to shedding the light that you even knew. Or you guys really went through a lot of shedding light, I'm not going to lie, especially over eclipse season, the 2 years that have just passed. So this is now living those freedoms of that truth, living those freedoms of that understanding, and allowing yourself to be freer and have a better idea of what and how you can shed the light and open up those darker parts of you. I love you all. Have a fabulous week, and I'll be back next week.